Well, welcome to the first Q&A, and we have got our first question from Sarah. Thank you, Sarah, for your question. The question is, how do God and creativity connect, and how do we allow God to speak through us? So this is a good question for me because my business is creative and I am an incredibly creative person and I really enjoy it. Now, I actually believe that creativity is at the heart of all of us, and I think that's because I believe that God is, I don't think that God is creative. I think God is creativity. It's very significant that the Bible says, in the beginning, God made. That was the very first thing that he did to reveal himself. You know, the understandings that we get of God, that God is love, you know, God is compassion, he is justice, all those things came later, and they actually got expressed through his creation. And even as God became flesh in Jesus, that we got to understand who God is. So actually God is revealed through his creativity. And so I think that when we are creative, because it says that we are made in the image of God, when we are creative, we are reflecting God. That is a reflection of God. So I know what I'm trying to say is that I think often we separate things like creativity and God. So we talk about how can we bring God into our creativity? How can we connect God to creativity? And I think they are already connected. I just think that creativity is God. When you're making something of beauty, when you're bringing people together, when you're building people up, when you're creating ease, when you're creating knowledge, when you're creating harmony in any way. So it doesn't necessarily, it's not exclusive to the arts, which often we can think that creativity is just about the arts, but actually I think creativity is in every facet of life and in every industry as well. Some people get really excited about their social work, you know, and actually bringing families together and helping people. You know, you're creating life. That's what you're doing, is you're channeling a flow of beauty and building, of creating something from nothing. For me, that is the real joy of being a creative entrepreneur, is that I'm essentially making something out of nothing, and then people are paying me for it, and I'm like, did you like that? Like, I just made that out of my head. Like that just came out of nothing. And that, I think the thrill of creativity is addictive in and of itself. But the thrill of somebody valuing your creativity so much that they will pay you to do it and do more of it is, oh, that to me is an ecstasy beyond compare, and one of the reasons why I love being in a creative industry. And so I know that I'm reflecting God and I'm in line with God's heart because I'm creating something of beauty. I photograph weddings, and I know that my pictures help couples to remember why they got married, help them to remember that the love that they have for each other. I've even had things like people who are incredibly self-conscious of themselves, and I've managed to take a picture of them that makes them realize how beautiful they are. And that is thrilling to me, that I know I'm adding to the world, I'm adding beauty. And so that's to your second question then. You said, how do we allow God to speak through us? I think one, when you're being creative, you are allowing God to speak through you, but it's when you know that your creativity is creating, not destroying. God has given humans a certain level of power, that actually we have the power to be destructive, and we can create things of destruction. And so you just ask yourself, I just wrote down 3 questions. So you just ask yourself, when you're making something, can this be used to create division, destruction, or death? And if it can, that is not beautiful creation. That's not in line with God. That is an unnatural and an unholy abuse of creativity, because it's not actually creating, it's actually destroying. But if what you're creating is promoting harmony and intelligence and confidence and unity and expression and just a moving forward of humanity and a moving forward of people towards love and harmony and peace and happiness, then I think that's a beautiful thing. And so I think that it's a good question, because I think that creativity is, like I said, at the heart of everyone. And as we learn to embrace and express the creativity that is within us, because it's not just something God does It's him. He is creative. So as we engage with the creativity that has been placed within us and start to express it and make that come into being, which is exactly what God does. The word becomes flesh. It's this manifesting that something spiritual that was unseen becomes seen for something beautiful. That is thrilling, and you will actually start to come alive inside. And I think that even outside of being like self-employed, actually people in jobs, any job, yeah, actually self-employed or employed, it doesn't matter. If you're in a job where there is no creativity, I think that's when it becomes a soul-destroying job. And that's when you just feel like you're dying a bit inside, because in kind of a way you are. There's a part of you that's just not being allowed to breathe. And so if you're in a job where you're not being allowed to be creative, I think actually that is your cue to get out of that job. Find out where your creativity lies, connect with it, and find a way to start expressing it. And you will find that your life will be a lot happier. You will be more fulfilled as a person. It doesn't have to be in the arts. It can be literally any area of life. But find that thing that where you can create something of beauty, where you can create something from nothing, where you can add to the world something beautiful, and you will find that your life will become more beautiful as a result. So I hope that's helped.